We've convinced our friend Jeff Wagner, who has one day left, to stick around to reminisce with us this afternoon. Jeff, thank you so much.
One day. Wow.
I can't believe it. Can you believe that? One day.
It's starting to become real. You know, it's actually, I've been kind of doing this mental countdown and all, but now it's starting to become real. One more show.
So what do you do tomorrow? Do you just do like a full 3-hour pop culture corner and just let it rip?
Oh, no. We don't mail it in, but actually there are going to be some segments. You would, yeah. What are they going to do? No, there's actually, a number of friends are coming down to the studio, and we're going to do a couple segments because they really do exist. Because one of the things that's happened over 25 years, and I always tell people, friends and family and stuff, you could end up as a character on the show, and so and I also give them warning that it's what I call, borrowing Jimmy Buffett's line, there's semi-true stories. There's some stuff I make up, there's some stuff I forget, but so these are some of friends are going to come down. I'm going to introduce them, saying, okay, this is this character that I've talked about and all.
I know you've had an incredible run here. Is there a moment or two, or a guest or two, or something that jumps out in your mind as something you'll remember for a really, really, really long time that was special?
Well, 9/11. I mean, 9/11, because that was just something that it was such a combined sort of thing, and it was. The community really kind of came together, and that was, keep in mind, 9/11, nobody knew what was going on, and so the information was coming out, and then of course you had the lockdowns, and that whole story went on for a month or two, and I think informed a lot of our thinking for the better part of a year. So 9/11 was that. Local issues, we talk about the Milwaukee County pension scandal. That was really where I think local talk radio kind of came of age, because we were talking about it on the radio, and then next thing you know, you got these groups that are mobilized. So that was the golden. I was so blessed to do this in what I consider to be kind of like the golden age of talk radio.
And you were kind of on the back end of the whole Miller Park controversy. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? I think you started shortly after that. Construction was on its way.
Right. I remember the crane collapse.
Sure.
Remember when we had the crane collapse in that afternoon when that happened? And so, there were so many different events. I was really lucky, John and Greg, because when I started here in 1998, and you look at some of the events that happened so quickly. Like I said, you had the Milwaukee County pension scandal, not in particular order. You had 9/11. You had the Bush-Gore election of 2000. Remember, where we didn't know who the president was for a couple months, and the hanging chads and all that. So you had that, and then you had the war in Iraq. But in this period of like 3 or 4 years, you had all these kind of transformative sort of issues that helped me find an audience. And thank you all for staying with me for all those years.
Jeff, you talk a lot of politics on your show, and we have a lot of political guests on our show. It's so polarizing. It's so partisan now. We've had periods like this in the history of our country. How do we get past this? When you reflect on, and you talk about politics almost every day, where we are today?
Well, I think things are – I don't think we're going to get over it in short term. Polarization is nothing new. And I really saw that for the first time. It started in my mind. You had the Clinton-Lewinsky stuff, and then you had the George Bush and the Al Gore thing, and of course Trump has made it worse one way or the other. And I say this all the time when I do interviews. One of the frustrating things to me is there's no nuance anymore, guys. It's just if it's your guy, okay, he can do no wrong. If it's not your guy, he's the Antichrist and deserves to be, walked off. And look, life isn't like that. You can look at Joe Biden and you can say, okay, I agree with him on some things and I disagree with him on others. And the same thing is true with Trump. But we're just so riveted into these different camps. And I find it frustrating to do a show on a daily basis. I've said this for the last few years. It wears you out because sometimes people don't want to listen to they don't want to listen to reason and say, oh, if Obama did that, I would have agreed with it, but because it's Trump, I don't, or vice versa. Yep. Frustrating.
Who are the people that helped you the most? Because you came in from a different walk of life, you kind of filled in a little bit, and then it became a thing. Jeff on the radio every day. But you said at your party last night, which was a lot of fun at the St. Kate, that the first couple of years felt like work, like it was a kind of a struggle trying to find your footing.
Well, no, I've given a lot of credit to my first general manager, John Schweitzer, who I always say thanks for hiring me and thanks for not firing me in the first couple of years, because you tried to find an audience. I don't know. My first program director, Rick Belcher, I got great advice, and people were willing to stick with me. They liked what I was doing. I always take my hat off to Charlie Sykes because we work in an industry where lots of big egos and everybody everybody who does what I do seems to think that everybody else is out to get their job. That's just kind of the nature of this. And Charlie was so embracing. When I started part-time, he had me as a guest on his TV show. I ended up being the fill-in host on that Sunday show. He could not have been, and I don't think I'd consider Charlie a mentor, but he really helped promote me, and I've always been grateful of that. And I've been grateful for the different people I've worked with. Gordon Hinckley, my God, what a radio legend. Yeah. And Gordon could have said, who's this lawyer kid that they're bringing in and stuff? And Gordon went out of his way to be incredibly wonderful as well. And John Green too. All these radio legends were just super. Can I tell you a Jim Irwin story quick?
Yeah,
please.
Okay, all right. So, Jim Irwin, radio legend stuff. Okay, well, before I came to TMJ, I was up the dial, doing a fill-in. And towards the end, I used to occasionally make fun of Jim Irwin and Max McGee because I understand they're legends. But at the end, okay, I used to listen to the Packer football games. I play golf on Sunday, and we'd be driving back, and the two of them, I think they'd forget they were on radio. I'd hear, oh, there's a pass. Did you see that? And I'm yelling in the car going, no, I didn't see it. It's radio. And so I would do that bit when I was on there. So then I come to work here, and there's Jim Irwin. First thing Jim Irwin does is he comes up to me and says, been listening to you up the dial.
Oh, that's funny.
And I said, oh, and he said, it's all Max's fault. And so God bless him. He's great.
Hey, I want to thank you because you and I at the old Radio City sat next to each other.
Yep.
And I came in as a young guy from TV. And there's a lot of big egos in our business and a lot of big egos in the TV business. And I think a lot of people didn't like that the TV guy was coming into the building. And I didn't know anything about radio.
No.
And you were kind to me. You were generous. You gave me good advice always. And you always were available and took the time. And not everybody in the building did that. And I owe you a lot. At the beginning, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And you were always there as a steady influence on me. And I appreciate that.
That's very kind of you. And it was a pleasure to sit next to you because the guy who sat next to you before that was a character. Let me just put it like that. So I we're not going to name names here, but I'd be like trying to work and prepare the show, and you didn't want to eavesdrop. But I mean, when people are screaming into the phone about this or that or the other thing, and I'm going, my gosh, you want to talk about life being as messy as a day-old sticky bun? This is what this guy's life is.
A rather loud individual too.
Right, we're not going to name names.
Next to you
so you were a pleasure, John, and I've just for both of you. I said this to Greg earlier. It has been. I've really enjoyed working with you guys, of course, but seeing how your careers have developed. You, John, making the transition, and you, Greg, moving from starting out as a producer. Did you start? You were part-time in the beginning, weren't you?
Part-time for 10 years.
Part-time producer, and then all the different roles that you've played. And, it's just been a pleasure to work with you, but also to see you guys develop in your careers. And I have no doubt that there's great things ahead for you guys.
Jeff Wagner, you can check him out tomorrow from noon to 3 on WTMJ. We appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you.